Hello everyone, this is Arthur from Elven Tower. I have been playing TTRPGs for about 20 years of my life and creating content for them for 10. I am the isometric maniac that believes that one day isometric maps will be the staple for games. Today's topic is character death in TTRPGs. Character death is a very interesting topic. For some people it is taboo, unimaginable, out of the question. And for others it is a crucial aspect of every game, a risk and a possibility present at all times. Disclaimer: the objective of this video is to provide insight about character death and how it can become a useful tool. I have zero intention to tell you how to play your games, and it is completely fine if the protagonists and heroes in your campaigns never die. Okay, having clarified that, there are two main aspects that will determine how often or common character death can be in your games. The first is the system that you're playing, because some TTRPGs are way more lethal than others. Examples of these lethal games are Dungeon Crawl Classics, Old School Essentials.
That is my universe!
That's right, Skippy is an OSR kobold. That's why he's black and white, and he is the big boss at Elven Tower. We also have Shadow Dark RPG, Morgborg, Call of Cthulhu, Delta Green, Mothership, and Traveler. Actually, in Traveler you can die during character creation. Honorable mentions are Lamentations of the Flame Princess, Mithras, Cairn, Warhammer the RPG, Torchbearer, and even Mouse God. All these systems have something in common. They do not pamper the player. They are risky, they are dangerous, and the mechanics and core aspects of the game make them hard, make them difficult, and it's easy to die. All these systems embrace the concept of death well, but you could say that death in these games is not a synonym of failure. It is part of the story.
Kobolds dying is almost part of every story.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Skippy, but heroes have to level up somehow. Okay, the second aspect that determines how often you will experience character death in your games is you, the GM. Because even if you're playing one of these TTRPGs that I mentioned, the GM has a lot of wiggle room in how to make the rules less lethal and be more lenient. Shadow Dark RPG, for example, has the pulp mode, where luck tokens are more common, they stack, heroes have more HP and better stats, etc. In the same manner, it is the GM that decides how often the heroes can take a long rest, how hard the encounters are, and basically how dangerous the world is. And still, sometimes the dice have a say in a campaign, and a critical hit at the wrong moment can change the course of a seemingly easy combat.
You heard him, boys. I have the power. I am the KM, the Kobold Master.
Your game, your rules, Skippy. So the question is death good or bad? Well, if you play Dungeons & Dragons 5e, it really sucks to lose a character because the system is built in such a way that it's actually very difficult to die. And I am not sure if that is a good thing. Allow me to elaborate. First, heroes have more often than not very good stats and they have a lot of HP. Some abilities regain hit points, like the fighter's second wind. There are a lot of healing spells, and many classes can learn them. It is not rare to have 2 or 3 heroes within the same party that can heal others. Temporary hit points exist, and different classes can grant them to others or gain them themselves. There are a lot of abilities to avoid or reduce damage. And lastly, Dungeons & Dragons is usually high fantasy, so potions of healing are common. But let's say that despite all this, your character drops to 0 hit points.
My character is an orc, so I go to 1 HP instead. I refuse to die.
That's right, orcs have relentless endurance, so they don't die. It is harder for them to die. They basically have a get out of jail free card once per long rest. But let's say, for the sake of this example, that it is the second time that you're dropped to 0 hit points or that you're not an orc. You go to 0 HP and you're not dead, you go unconscious. And each turn you roll a death saving throw. You roll a d20, and if you get 10 or more, you have 1 success. 3 successes means that you stabilize and you're alive. So this means that you have a 55% chance of succeeding in every roll. And if you fail 3 times, your character dies. So technically, there is a possibility that you roll 2 successes and 2 failures before rolling the 5th die that will determine if you die or not. Of course, provided that no one helped you or healed you in 4 rounds. And 4 rounds in Dungeons and Dragons is a lot. That's a lot of windows and chances that companions and allies have to help you and heal you. And even if you die, from level 5, you have the Revivify spell, so a teammate can bring you back from the dead with no consequences.
It is insulting that PCs have so much plot armor when we kobolds are killed by the dozens.
I agree with you, Skippy. Actually, saying all this out loud, it is kind of ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, I love Dungeons and Dragons, and I learned how to play TTRPGs with 3rd edition. But if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons 5e and your character actually dies, it does feel like the universe is plotting against you. And this is why I said before that this is not exactly a good thing. Why? Because to start, the players become aware of this and they exploit it. They become reckless, and planning and strategy are no longer part of their vocabulary. Secondly, fleeing is never an option. They basically know that they can kill everything that moves. And lastly, in my opinion, this is why murder hobos exist, but only in systems like D&D. Why? Because they can get away with it. Try playing as a murder hobo in Shadowdark RPG and that character will not make it to the next session. In conclusion, I don't recommend Dungeons & Dragons 5e for a campaign where you want to include character death as an option, as a risk, or as a fuel for storytelling. It'll be actually kind of hard. Before we continue, you should know that this video is sponsored by no one. That's right, Elven Tower is a very small channel, but it is a project that we love and that we are actually investing our souls in. My brother and I run our Patreon page, and all the illustrations and TTRPG content that we create, it takes most of our time. So creating videos is actually a big challenge for us. Both the time and the know-how to make videos have had a steep adaptation learning curve for us. So if you have watched until now, I thank you with all my heart. Please like and subscribe so we can feel that our videos are not getting lost into the algorithm void. And if you have the means and motivation, check out our Patreon page. We have a plethora of content, and our back catalog of almost 900 maps is available for as low as $1 a month. And we also have a free tier filled with goodies and fun collaboration projects. You will find the link in the description. Thank you, and let's continue with our video. Yes, death is natural and it is part of life. When a main character dies in a story, it shouldn't be just for shock value, because we are not playing Final Destination RPG, right? The best writers employ death as a narrative engine. Let's take a look at some TV series, books, and famous movies where characters die, but this is actually a good thing for the plot, and it creates a domino effect for the rest of the character's development. The first example is Ned Stark from Game of Thrones. His death means that his oldest son, Robb Stark, is forced to transition instantly from a young lord to a wartime military commander. Sansa Stark is stripped of her naive, romanticized view of court life and begins her brutal education in political survival. And Arya Stark is cast out into the wilderness, hardening her into a ruthless survivor and assassin. Without Ned's death, his children would have remained safe and stagnant. His absence forced them to grow up or die.
Boromir in Lord of the Rings, Errol in Equilibrium, Alec in GoldenEye, the list is long. These guys' characters have been dying since 1995.
That is true. Sean Bean does know how to sell a death scene.
Is he a necromancer?
I don't think so. Why do you ask?
Because he's a master of death.
Our next example is Mufasa in The Lion King. Simba's entire arc relies on his father's death. Initially, it triggers an emotional regression. He runs away, he adopts the carefree Hakuna Matata philosophy, and he avoids all responsibility. However, the ghost of his father and the decay of the pride eventually forced Simba to face his grief, accept his identity, and step into adulthood as the rightful king. Another great example is Uncle Ben, from the very first Spider-Man movie. In the movie, Peter Parker starts his story using his new powers for selfish reasons. Uncle Ben's death is the ultimate moral wake-up call, and this is when he actually understands the deep meaning in the woods. With great power comes great responsibility. And last but not least, Dumbledore from Harry Potter. Harry is forced to grow up instantly. He has to make life or death decisions for him, Ron, and Hermione, and his choices during the subsequent hunt for Horcruxes showcase his transition from a reactive teenager into a calculated, strategic leader. Death can be a very powerful narrative tool. Just like the examples we just saw, if a character dies in your campaign, there are many ways in which this can become a pivotal moment for the other players and their character development. Death can be represented as a meaningful act to be remembered and cherished forever. And sometimes it can reshape the world. Yet, depending on the system that you're playing and how grim and dangerous the world is, some characters' deaths may mean nothing. That depends on you, the player's actions, and the dice. Here are some advices that you may find useful. The first is very important. As the GM, it is not your job to kill your players. And this even applies to the most lethal systems that I mentioned before. The players will most likely notice if you are actively trying to kill them and set them up for failure. And this will always create friction. Character death should be the result of bad luck, poor choices, or a willing sacrifice. Number 2, it is completely reasonable to warn players or foreshadow the danger they are in. For example, you have a party of level 5 heroes and they say, you know what? We want to go to that mountain and kill a dragon. You can say something like, you are free to do so, but you should know that it is extremely dangerous for your current level. You will probably die. Or as an alternative, you describe in-game and foreshadow the danger they are in. You see piles and piles of bones scattered around. The smell of rotten flesh pierces your nose. And fresh blood stains decorate the wall, ceiling, and floor in every direction. And then you hear the growl of a massive beast coming from below.
It freezes your very soul.
If, after that description, the heroes still want to go in, that's their choice. And they shall face the consequences of their actions. As the GM, you have done your job, and if they die during that dungeon's exploration, it is no longer your responsibility. And lastly, heroic sacrifices should always be an option. A hero holding a door so the others can escape, like Hodor from Game of Thrones. A sacrifice that is required so the main plot can continue in the right direction, like Natasha, Black Widow from the MCU. Or an epic sacrifice to change the world, save it, or heal it, like Tony Stark, Iron Man, in the MCU as well.
Max Lord, I need you to give me the stone.
Yes, there is a heroic sacrifice in that movie. Silas Stone, Cyborg's dad, superheats the mother box so it becomes traceable by satellite. And thus, he changes the story and Cyborg's character development. So in conclusion, both the system that you play and the decisions that you make as the GM are going to determine how often character death occurs in your games. In my opinion, removing the concept of death from a TTRPG removes the risk. And I believe that this risk and the fear of death are crucial for cinematic tension, for character development, and storytelling. But let me know what you think. I would love to read your stories, anecdotes, and opinions in the comments below. My name is Arthur.
And I'm Skippy.
And I'll see you in the next one.